Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I am watching Star Trek for the first time from the beginning. Joining me this week is my old friend and resident Trekkie, Nate. Join us now as we discuss the next 3 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. The Most Toys, Sarek, and Ménage à Troi. Make it so. So, should we talk about some Star Trek?
Do it.
All right. First episode this week, the crew leaves Data for dead when his shuttlecraft explodes during a dangerous mission in The Most Toys.
That's right. They did leave him for dead.
Yeah,
Poor guy.
they scanned and they saw what they would expect to see if he had died.
And then they left. No, I'm obviously not faulting them because I I think it was pretty clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is kind of funny to the way that's written.
Yeah. So I had to take a break with 18 minutes remaining in
Yeah.
the episode. I did finish it, obviously. Well, hopefully that's obvious. Um, and with 18 minutes remaining, I wrote so far, not a particularly noteworthy episode, but it still just has that feeling of being a just good. And I was assuming at that point I would rate it about a 7.
Yeah.
Um, But kind of what I've been saying all season is that it's just a testament to how good the show is now,
Yeah.
and that the baseline is just that it's generally pretty solid.
Hmm.
And as a viewer, the production just has that feeling of being a well-oiled machine. Um, I thought it was a good mystery of how the Enterprise and the crew are going to uncover the truth and find the solution. And with 18 minutes to go, had no real idea how it was going to wrap up.
Right.
Even though I have a belief or an understanding that it's going to find a way to wrap up because it's still not one of those shows that's going to really throw a massive curveball generally. Um, so that was when I had to take a break and came back to it. And finishing the episode up, I think I'll keep it as a 7.
Yeah.
Again, speaking to just how good the season has been. Uh, if it was an original series episode, or maybe even a season 1 or 2 episode of Next Gen, this one could have easily been an 8.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
Nothing like super noteworthy about it, but just again, a really solid show in general. And yeah, entertaining enough. But at this point, they're as I've said, I feel like I'm just on repeat here. The actors know the characters. They're in the roles, they're in it. It's just that well-oiled machine. So these episodes are just solid, and they've gotten to that point where an episode of this quality, even if it's nothing special for season 3, I think in season 1 would have still been like it would have seemed even better by comparison.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I So it's interesting. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think it all makes complete sense. And I'm sitting here going, yep, yep, yep. And maybe I was in
5.
a mood. I don't know. I think maybe, and I'm not baiting you this time because I know sometimes I'll turn around and be like, so I gave it a 10.
Yeah.
I'm not baiting you on this one. I think I just wasn't maybe feeling this episode when I watched it because I was just kind of bored the entire time.
I can see that too.
And so I ended up giving it a 5. I think maybe I could be talked into a 6. But I don't know that I could go much higher than that. It didn't, I don't know. It's one of those where you know the data is going to be okay. You know
Right.
that they're going to figure it out. So there doesn't feel like much of a threat that, there's a chance that they don't, resolve the storyline. Um, it didn't, there wasn't really much of a B plot to it. I mean, there kind of
There
was.
was the two plots, this is one where they were really tied together because
Yeah, almost
the
inextricably.
one plot was Data with Fajo,
Yep,
and the other plot was the Enterprise dealing with the fallout of losing Data,
yep,
discovering that he's not dead, and then finding him and getting him back.
right.
So they were
Well,
it was
and
like an
arguing
A and
too
an
that, they were trying to get that material
8.1.
from Fajo
Yeah.
to cure the planet. That's maybe a C plot, but also
That was just kind of the reason
do it.
for it.
Yeah.
Something that got them in the area, got them in that contact. So I could totally see watching this episode and thinking like, yeah, there's nothing to it. Early on, I wrote it felt a little Squire of Gothos, which is ironically an episode that by what I recall, I didn't really care for. Um, but I don't know if there were some of the scenes on the Enterprise that stuck out to me, and it it was, I think, an interesting portrayal of what it's like to lose somebody, especially if it's suddenly and a bit unexpected,
Yeah.
and how it can take time to adjust. Um, and for me, that kind of hit in
Hmm.
that it was less than 3 weeks ago that we put Lisi down.
Yep.
And I have those moments and fewer of them now,
Sure.
that there's been a little more time. But having a hoodie that I just tossed on the floor beside my desk that happened to be black with white strings or white lettering, which
Yeah.
matched her coloring, and looking over, I literally picked up the hoodie and threw it across the room because I was like, fuck that.
Can't
I
have that
cannot
there.
have that there. Or
Yep.
seeing her fur in the spot where she laid in my office that I haven't vacuumed up yet.
Yep.
Um, or just yesterday seeing Mitch, our tuxedo cat, sitting on the couch on the cushion where she always laid,
Right.
having very similar look and doing a double take as I walked by.
Yeah.
So having some of that and those things and those realizations, or even little things like, oh shit, I dropped a cracker on the floor. The dog will get, no, she won't.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, so seeing some of those, maybe I related to it
I
differently because that those kind of hit me. And I made a note of that portrayal of what it's like to lose somebody. And now losing a dog is not like losing a person.
No,
I'm
but it's still a big
fully
deal,
there, but
right?
it was a loss,
Yeah.
and it was something that I could relate to from very recent experience.
And I think maybe that makes part of the difference, because, maybe if we'd watched this back in October after
Yeah.
we lost Fiona, I would feel differently about it because I certainly went through all the same things, right?
Hmm.
Like she used to hang out in my office with me all day, and every time I would stand up to do something, she would like bolt up to be like, "Oh, are we going upstairs now? Are we done?" Because she didn't want to be down here with me all day. Um, and so for, a similar amount of time, 2, 3 weeks, every time I would even scoot my chair back, I would expect to see her
Hmm.
pop up out of the corner of my eye, and obviously didn't. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's so much of these shows are, our interpretations and our reactions to them are influenced by outside forces.
Yeah.
We even just finished
Well,
a book thing at work. And it's a book that I had read, a leadership book that I had read before,
hmm.
but we decided to, do it collectively. And so I'm reading through it again, and I used a different color highlighter, and I was highlighting completely different things
Hmm.
I did the first time through because I first read it 2 years ago, and now this, everything is completely different.
Hmm.
And so I see things through a different lens. Like all
Right.
of that, you know, impacts how we look at things.
Well, and I've experienced that with shows before too. It's interesting rewatching shows that we watched years ago,
Hmm.
like How I Met Your Mother is one that stuck out to me,
Yep.
or even it's been a long time since we've watched it all the way through, but bits at the end of Friends, where sorry for spoilers for shows that have been off the air for
Yes.
10 to 20 plus
Right.
years.
Spoiler
Deal with it.
alert.
But when we watched How I Met Your Mother when it was first on,
Yep. It's
and as the show comes to an end, Ted is talking about moving to Chicago, moving away from everything, from everyone. And I mean, when we were, gosh, I don't know, that show ended when we were probably late 20s, about 30. Um, and yeah, it hit how it hit. I mean, the show's
Mhm.
coming to an end. We love the show and all that. Well, we rewatched it again a number of years later, and all of a sudden, we're considering moving across the country. A lot of stuff at the end of that show hit a little differently,
Absolutely.
being at a different point in life. And so, yeah, it's interesting the impact that these stories can have,
Yep.
um, and just the episodes and how what's going on in a given day can make a difference in how it's received. Now, I didn't think this was any particularly special episode, and like I said, I think the quality of it would have probably been rated even higher in an earlier season just because if it was an episode this well put together, this well constructed, even if it had kind of boring moments, I took barely any notes on it as I was watching because I was just watching and enjoying and thinking the whole time like, yeah, this is a fine episode, um, but not one that's probably going to stick out in my memory. Um, although I did have some thoughts about it where Fajo might be one of the most like truly evil characters we've seen on the show
I think
uh,
that's
in the
fair. I mean,
series.
no redeemable qualities whatsoever.
And Data might be one of the most terrifying because he tried to kill that guy
Yeah. Yep. And then lied about it.
and lied about it. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, Fajo, see, like the way he killed her, knowing and doing it because it would be slow and painful,
Yeah.
and did
Pure
it
evil.
anyway.
Well,
And
and
just,
everything
yeah,
he did
he
in
was
general,
just evil.
that crew were all basically slaves.
Oh, yeah.
And then, all he does is steal one of a kind artifacts,
Hmm.
and manufacture planetary crises so that he can kidnap Data.
Yep.
Like, there's zero redeemable anything about him.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, I did find it. I mean, was an interesting because they say earlier in the episode that, Data has never killed anyone. It also made me think, is that a true statement? I was trying to remember from previous episodes if that had ever happened, and I can't.
Yeah.
It seems far-fetched to me, but I can't pick out any examples that would disprove that.
Yeah.
But it certainly shows he's willing to and would have if it
And
weren't for a very well-timed transport.
so willing and able.
Hmm.
I mean, just because he didn't accomplish it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that he wasn't able to. It just was a fluke thing that he didn't.
He pushed the button
Yeah.
as the beam started.
Yep.
And, thank God we have a competent transporter chief to go, hey, maybe we're going to stop that one now.
Wouldn't that have been a twist
Right? Just
if
walk it through.
well, no, if they caught it in the transporter and then he comes through, shoots Riker
Yeah.
because he was
Ooh,
pointing right at Riker.
he was pointing right at Raker. Oh, that would have been a twist.
Yeah.
Jonathan Frakes quits the show because I want to go out even worse than Tasha Yar did. Like, can I have a
Hmm.
more meaningless death than her? Let's go.
So yeah, I didn't have much more on this one. I was just I thought it was an easy episode to watch. I found it entertaining enough. Um, I enjoy the episodes where we know most of what's going on and
Yeah.
are seeing the crew, especially maybe it's seeing Geordi figure it out. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure. Nobody else
it's
had. It just bothered Jordy too
but
much.
I'm just saying the episodes where it's like, yeah, we kind of know what's going on. We obviously know here that Data's alive, or I guess is Data alive? We know Data's still exists, and then just seeing those episodes where we're then watching Geordi and the crew figure it out.
Hmm.
Um, and even though we know we can see both sides of it, we don't know how they're going to come together. So watching that is always, I
Yeah.
always find that pretty entertaining and just they execute those episodes pretty well. And I felt that this was kind of right in line there. But I can also see when I told Abby the ones we were watching this week, she was like, "Oh, that episode sucks."
For this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I can see her and I agreeing on that one. We're generally pretty close.
yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. Any good
Anything
trivia
else?
on this one?
There's some freaking dark trivia on this one. Like I was
Oh,
scanning through this while I was waiting for you to pop on. Um, Holy hell. Uh,
really?
yeah. Some dark trivia. This is freaking wild. Okay. This is not this first one isn't dark. I will get to it shortly. But so Fajo's Lapling was a hand puppet created by Michael Westmore. Producer David Livingston recalled it was this little creature that Saul Rubinek went up to. Saul played Fajo and said,
Hmm.
"Biddy, biddy, biddy." And that was his call to the creature, and that became a running gag. People on the set continue to say "biddy, biddy, biddy" long after this episode. This episode features Shuttlepod Pike, named after Christopher Pike, first captain of the USS Enterprise.
Hmm.
This is where it gets dark. Um, So David Rappaport was to have played Kivas Fajo, but attempted suicide a few days into filming.
Oh.
He was replaced by Saul Rubinek, and Rappaport's scenes were refilmed. Rappaport then committed suicide 2 months later.
Oh
Um,
shit.
the footage featuring Rappaport can be seen on disc 5 of the season 3 Blu-ray release under the episode menu, which means they're probably up on YouTube too. But I guess if you want to see what Fajo was supposed to look
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah. Did I mention it gets dark?
Hmm.
Uh, so, um, Kivas Fajo's makeup was originally more elaborate. The character had a clearly alien appearance with long Vulcanesque ears and brownish purple skin tone. The change was necessitated due to time constraints after the original actor, David Rappaport, attempted suicide and Fajo was recast midway through filming. It's like, we don't have time to do makeup again. Like, he's just going to look human, and away we go.
Yeah.
Uh, LaForge returns a red book to Captain Picard, which was identified as a gift from the captain. The captain reads a brief quote from the book. He is a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon him. Shall not look upon his like again. I shall not look upon his like again. So you can actually get a clean cut of that.
Hmm.
The book is the collected works of Shakespeare. The quote is from Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 2. But what a great quote to describe Data. I shall not look upon his like again, being the only one.
Hmm.
In the background of the room where Data is held, a copy of Salvador Dali's The Persistence of Memory is seen on the back wall. It was created by artist Elaine Sokolov. I think they even refer to it in the episode, if I
Yeah,
remember
you just said a dolly.
Dali. Worf mentions that he has manned the ops position before. This is a direct reference to the first season when he acted as relief con and ops officer, should Geordi or Data be unavailable.
Hmm.
I thought this was an interesting bit of trivia that I one third caught, maybe. While going through Data's belongings, Geordi and Wesley discussed the same three items Data packed for himself in The Measure of a Man.
Hmm.
So the medals, the hologram of Tasha, and I don't remember what the third is. And
The
I'm only
Shakespeare
remembering
book?
those now.
Was it
This
the Shakespeare book?
could be the Shakespeare book. But yeah, same three items.
Hmm. It's not like
Uh,
he had much.
yeah, I mean, he wasn't a super sentimental guy, right? But they talk about that in The Measure of the Man too. Like
Yeah.
he didn't have many things, but the things that he had were did have
Meaningful.
some meaning to him, right?
Right. Hmm.
Um, as a result of this episode and the real Roger Maris card, by the way,
Hmm.
that was a real card. Series
Okay.
writer, lifelong
Well,
baseball. Go ahead.
so I know like Roger Maris cards and everything. That while that would be really cool, how crazy was that in 1990? That card was 29 years old. Now I know cards from the 60s were obviously not as common, but I mean, I've got a shitload of baseball cards still probably in a box in the garage from 1995.
Sure.
And none of them, now granted, none of them are like a Mark McGuire or Sammy
Right.
Sosa or
And
anything like that.
I think the
And
fact that it's a Roger
it's a
Maris
Roger
card.
Maris, yes.
So
I know,
yeah,
but again, it's just that like okay, it's some and I know the whole story of 61 and Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle and
yeah.
the home run race.
And,
Um, it's a great story. Showtime made a movie about it like 25 years ago that was actually quite good.
okay,
But yeah, it's just kind of pointing out, remembering how far removed we are from that,
for
and
sure.
that episode is closer to that Roger Maris card than it is to us today.
100%. And this might be a bit of a Mandela effect on my part. Um, but I mean, I also, as a youngster, collected baseball cards, and I might
Hmm.
even still have some in the garage somewhere. I don't remember whatever happened to my binder full of them. But I seem to remember in the 90s, like really wanting a Roger Maris and a Mickey Mantle
Yeah,
card and them being very hard to come by.
yeah.
But again, that could be a Mandela effect if I'm just creating that memory.
I remember that stuff too, and the fact that just anything from that time period, I think
Well, and they were
it's not like
relatively new at that time
they
period.
weren't made as much as they were even in the 90s, where
Yes.
you could get all sorts of baseball cards
Yep. There
back
were
then.
relatively few of them. So
Right.
anyway, so as a result of the episode, series writer and lifelong baseball fan Michael Pillar began collecting baseball cards.
Hmm.
His collection numbered over 2,000 cards before his death in 2005.
Hmm.
Faggio suggests that Data has no sense of modesty. In fact, he does have a modesty subroutine as established in Inheritance.
Hmm. I don't recall that, but yeah.
Among the artifacts in Faggio's collection is a communication device used by Sarjenka and pen pals, and a small
Hmm.
base that would be seen in the crew quarters of Data, Worf, O'Brien, and many others later in the series.
Hmm.
A little proper use. That
Hmm.
happens. Um, the title of the episode, The Most Toys, refers to an old adage, whoever dies with the most toys wins.
Hmm.
So, the painting that Data had been working on was of the vortex in Times Squared. I also believe from one of the episodes last week that we saw a the trivia was that you could see the corner of that, like they picked up
Hmm.
the cover and you could see it, which I don't think they mention in here. But let's see here. Uh, the 1962 Roger Maris baseball card used was the first in the top series of 598 cards that year on account of Maris having bested Babe Ruth's single season home run record by one the previous year with 61 homers.
Hmm.
Data's holographic memento of Tasha Yar appears again. Let's see here. The famous artwork featured in this episode through mention and or by sight. When Data first meets Fajo, there's Salvador Dali's persistence of memory between them. When Picard finds out about Fajo's ulterior profession as a collector, the computer mentions Van Gogh's Starry Night as one of
Hmm.
the unique artifacts stolen by Fajo. And before Fajo threatens to kill Varia in order to get Data to obey him, Data is looking at Leonardo
Hmm.
da Vinci's Mona Lisa,
Yep.
trying to
Trying
imitate.
to trying to smile.
Yeah, which is actually very funny.
Hmm.
Um, More about the suicide, which I don't think at this point is super relevant or necessary. Um, the room where Riker and Crusher discover the contamination was artificial is the same as in the episode Captain's Holiday, where Picard is forced to dig for the Toxitod on Risa.
Hmm.
This may be the first time Data willingly chose to lie.
Yeah.
Again, I can't think of it.
I can't think of any other time that he did.
That is what is in here.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's it. That's what I got for this one.
All right. Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
All right. In our next episode, episode 23 of season 3, the Enterprise is plagued by an outbreak of violence when it is visited by a renowned Vulcan ambassador in Sarek.
I mean, spoiler alert. Let's write in the episode title. I
I
mean, what the hell?
know.
Way to ruin it, Paramount Plus. Oh wait.
Hmm?
Never mind.
Oh,
Um, I I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. I didn't take a ton of notes on it because
I did not take that many notes either.
I just sat back and kind of watched it
Yep.
and really enjoyed it. I gave it an 8. I thought it was just a really good episode.
All right. I don't think we have much more to say on this one.
Great. Moving on to the next one.
I gave it an 8 as well. Um, yeah, didn't first thoughts I wrote down after it. Another episode that didn't require many notes. Great episode though. Easy 8.
Yeah,
But
I
it
mean,
had great performances by everybody in it.
oh,
As
so
we're
good.
just getting used to seeing Patrick Stewart as like Sarek's mind. Just wow.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
was amazing.
that man can do anything.
Yeah. It's so good. And he's really, I don't know if he loosened up or if they're just like, all right, we're gonna utilize more of the tools in your belt here.
Oh,
And just find, I think it could be, again, the show and the writers, directors, everybody knowing what they're doing so well for them to be able to say like, all right, we know you can do this. We know that this will work to your strengths, and just giving him these things to do while still not being Patrick Stewart doing it, but being Picard doing these things and
yep.
just nails it.
Well,
He's so good.
and I think so. So I think a lot of it is all the things that you probably listed with, maybe Patrick Stewart loosening up a little bit and, finding his rhythm in the role. It could be the writing, it could be the directing, it could be all of that. And I think the other thing is And we see it frequently in a lot of the episodes that we're watching lately, is that Shakespearean side of him coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember from his memoir, he talks a lot about the differences between stage acting and film acting.
Mm-hmm.
How when you're on the stage, like your emotions have to be larger than life
Mm-hmm.
because everyone is watching you from the distance.
And you have to reach the people in the back.
Yeah, so you everything you have to do has to be exaggerated. Like
Mm-hmm.
it has to be the extremes of everything. And I think that sort of strategy to acting plays really well in an episode like this,
Mm-hmm.
where he has to be the extremes of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's kind of, it feels like he's tapping into that to an extent and kind of letting that flow through him in those scenes.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah. So the big thing that I noted, and I think you'll think this is funny, and maybe you noticed, and maybe you didn't, but so the his entourage beams on to the Enterprise first before him and
Mm-hmm.
Perrin. Um, so did you notice that not Sacketh, but the other guy, his chief of staff,
Mm-hmm.
looks just like Zach Brown,
Oh, now that you say it, yeah.
right? Like,
Yep.
oh, when did Zach Brown show up here?
And for those of you listening, that is not Zach Brown of the Zach Brown band, but
No,
Zach
it's the
Brown of the
McLaren
McLaren
Racing.
Formula One team.
Yeah, I just it looks very much like they could have been brothers or
Yeah.
something. Brothers that are probably 20 years apart in age, because I think the actor playing Chief of Staff was probably about the same age when they filmed this as Zach Brown is now.
Right.
Um,
Right.
just I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I don't know, just the first thing I thought of when I saw them. So,
Uh, One thing I liked in this episode is that Next Generation is very much its own show. We are like 8 or 9 episodes away from Next Generation surpassing the episode count of the original series. So
yep,
it is, and I know it's going to blast past it and have more than double the episodes. I think in all there's like a what 176
something like that.
episodes of Next Gen, and we're coming up on almost 80 already,
Yep,
um, which is that crossover point where the original series had 79 or 80, depending on if you want to count the cage as an episode in its on its own. But so Next Gen is very much at this point an established show in its own right without the original series. Now, without the original series, who knows if this would have taken off? Um, maybe, maybe not. At this point, with the way the show is, sure. Would it have made it through those early episodes without that background and the rabid fan base that were Star Trek fans? Who knows? But I digress a bit. Uh, so long, long way of saying again, Next Generation, its own show at this point.
yep.
But it was a nice reminder that it is still connected to the original series and
Hmm.
having that connection. Now, I know they had an aged Bones in Encounter at Farpoint,
Yep.
but other than that, and kind of having a few
Minor references.
minor references or attempted shot for shot remakes of certain episodes
I
that
was gonna say that
didn't
they
work
could
out so
now, but
great,
I mean, there
but
you go.
but like in general, and that was like the second or third episode.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of give that shout out to the original series in
And
this way too, where it's a side character, but a character that's known, has been in the movies, and some of that. I like that connection and that it is part of something bigger.
I like the fact that unlike Dr. Crusher slapping Wesley as hard as she could, it doesn't smack you in the face as a callback to the original series, right? I mean, Sarek is obviously a known character. He's in episodes,
Yeah.
he's in movies, but it's a very subtle. Like,
But at the
if
same time, it he could have been any ambassador that they've
yeah,
brought in any episode to this
if you'd
point.
never watched the original series or any of the movies, you could
You
have
don't
still
lose
enjoyed this
much.
episode
Yep.
the same. It would
Yep.
have been fine.
Yeah. But I liked that they had it.
Yes.
Um,
For the rest of us, it's awesome. For
right.
the casual viewer, it's still awesome.
Right. Right. Um, yeah. It was a very character and drama heavy episode. Aside from the brawl in 10 forward, there was really little action
A lot of
in the
dialogue, a
episode.
lot of emotion. Um,
Yeah, I liked the way they told the story, the way they did things. They used people walking in the halls as a means of exposition. And you get Picard and Riker walking just until they're done telling their their part of the story. I like the way that was used. It was
mhm.
an effective way that is really just kind of an info dump,
Yep.
but it works.
And
It
it's
worked.
real because how often do you go walking, down the hall
Right.
or down the road or whatever with somebody and have a conversation, right? It's it's a very real thing we all do.
Absolutely.
I
But
did
yeah.
laugh at one point because it's like having a child in a lot of ways where Picard's, looking at Sarek and said, "Yeah, but I saw you crying." And Sarek goes, "You exaggerate, Captain. I recall only one tear." Like, oh my God. That's like living with a 9-year-old.
Yep.
No, I did this. Like, well, cool. That doesn't make it better.
That's still what I said.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good exploration of kind of just general aging and how we deal with diminished
Mhm.
capacities.
It's a,
And
it's a good exploration of that for sure.
yeah, and and how we deal with that as it happens to us, but also how we deal with it as it happens to others.
Yep.
Um, yeah, just yeah, it was a good episode. Ironically, there wasn't like it was portrayed the way they told the story, the way they revealed information, it seemed like his handlers, his chief of staff, and everybody were working against him. They were plotting against him. They were
Mhm.
doing something. And at one point, I wrote, does this mean that Sarek's handlers are actually protecting him and everyone else?
Right.
And then the chief of staff had the little blow up meeting with Picard, and I was like, well, doesn't seem that way. But then
Yeah.
at the end, that was exactly what it was. Like they were protecting him from himself and trying to protect everybody else from him.
Yeah.
Um, so really, it was just Sarek against this Bendai syndrome was really kind of the conflict in the episode. But they managed it in really interesting ways, and seeing Geordi and Wesley start fighting, and then Riker and Picard ready to throw down on the bridge. Um, put him in some good good entertaining situations, and
Yeah.
again, just a really strong episode.
So
I
so one thing I noted, just because I thought, yikes. So they're setting up the room for these
mhm,
negotiations, right? And they have the big vat of liquid or whatever that God, I forget the name of the alien race that they never show, but is going to
right.
join them for the negotiations. And Jordy says, right before they start to argue that they finally got the liquid to it's 150.
150 degrees Celsius.
I went, my God, that's hot.
Hmm.
Like even just being in the room would suck.
Yeah, that's like a giant vat that's probably about 300 degrees.
Yeah, whatever that liquid is, obviously not water. at that point. But whatever it is, that's damned hot, and that's got to be
Yeah.
putting off a crap ton of energy to heat up that room and make it absolutely unbearable for anybody else to be in there.
Yeah. 302 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep. Crazy.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Uh, so a piece of trivia, I don't know where I read this, but I read it recently. Like in the last week. For some reason I was looking at something and it was maybe talking about connections between Next Gen and the original series. And there was basically a rule for the writers that they could not reference Spock. They couldn't say Spock. They couldn't because
Interesting. And they don't.
they wanted to be separate.
Yep.
I believe Picard said Spock near the end of this episode when he was in his Sarek mind meld.
Did he?
Um, I
Or-
think so.
I know they make reference like I attended. Yeah, he does.
Yep. Because it said Spock, Amanda. Um, yeah. But that might be the first or only reference to Spock.
Certainly the first.
The first, yeah. So I think they wanted to it was one of those things where maybe at this point the show is so well established that they're okay now
Yep.
acknowledging where they came from.
But what's funny is
Because
earlier,
because I
like,
think what they didn't want was they wanted to it's almost like the little brother who wants to be respected in his own right, not because his older brother was the quarterback
right.
or whatever. They want to be like they don't want to be carried by the name Spock. They want to be their own thing, and now they're at a point where they can acknowledge it without fear of like, oh yeah, that's the only reason people care.
So I have two things. Feels like you made like an Manning, Peyton Manning joke there.
No,
Uh,
I was literally just meaning
I know.
in yeah,
It
just
felt like a funny tie-in to that. The other thing is, in the beginning, Picard says that he met Sarek once at his son's wedding,
hmm.
which of course they don't directly say Spock, but as far as we know, that is other than Cybok, that's the only child of
Hmm.
of Sarek. So you make, I mean, and the whole Sarek thing was well before Picard was,
Hmm.
out of diapers at the very least. We'd have to look at the years, but
Well,
so,
I mean, he did say in there, what was the exact line? I hope I'm that frail when I'm 202 years
yeah,
old.
yep. And we know Vulcans live for a long time, but it
Yep.
also implies, assuming that Spock they're talking about, that Spock gets married at some point.
Hmm.
So do he and T'Pring get back together?
No, I think I've heard this. I don't know if it's accurate or if I should know this. He marries drawing a blank on her name. Um Savik.
Yeah, I think that's the in the books. I think that happens.
Mm,
They never. It's not really a spoiler. It's heavily implied in Star Trek 4, and there's I think a scene that they cut where she's pregnant.
mm,
And so it's heavily implied that they get married and have a child, but it's
mm.
never discussed in anything outside the
Nothing
books.
explicit.
Um, and then she shows up in um there's a YouTube channel that works with the Roddenberry archives and they make videos once in a while.
Hmm.
So they did a video of Kirk after death meeting all the people from his life. And one of the people in there is Savick and someone that you presume is the child of
Hmm.
Savick and Spock,
Hmm.
which is it's a cool video. You should go watch it.
Yeah.
I don't think it has any spoilers in it.
Yeah.
So it's just a cool video.
Nice.
It's like 8 minutes long, and then there isn't a single word of dialogue in it.
Hmm.
And the trivia
Interesting.
is that is Shatner's most recent um, appearance as Kirk,
Hmm.
uh, and they filmed it about a year ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway,
Interesting. Yeah, is there any good trivia on this one? I don't
I
have too much more on it
don't
because
have too
yeah,
much more on it.
it was just a great episode and just kind of stands on its own as being a great episode.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good stuff in here. So, to start with, Picard's crumbling emotions mirroring Sarek's inner turmoil are echoes of a similar scene of Spock in The Naked Time, even down to a single take being used.
Hmm.
It's kind of a cool throwback there. I mean that episode I think still ranks among our favorite original
Hmm.
series episodes,
Yeah,
even if its ripoff is
not as good.
um Director Les Landau filmed Picard's outburst while moving the camera around him, starting from his left and finishing on his right. Because the shot was filmed several times in a single take, Patrick Stewart had to do the heavily emotional scene several times in its entirety.
Hmm.
Which would be crazy.
Yeah. But as a stage actor,
Yeah, you do it
not
twice a night
yeah,
at least,
right,
right? And three times on Sunday, kind of thing.
right.
Um, The script originally involved another ambassador, but the writers decided to use Sarek to bring home the idea that even the greatest of men is subject to mental illness.
Hmm.
I think it's super cool.
One of the things I jotted down in this was I wrote down, is this an allegory about Alzheimer's?
Hmm. And this would have been about the time where that was really starting to be understood more.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that fed into it. This is the first time a Vulcan mind meld is done in the next generation.
Hmm. There haven't been that many Vulcans really in
No, not really
next
at all.
gen.
Um, let's see here. Sarek introduces Perrin to Captain Picard and Commander Riker as "she who is my wife." In Journey to Babel, he introduces his first wife and Spock's mother, Amanda, to Captain Kirk and Dr. McCoy exactly the same way. The exchange, "we come to serve and your service honors us," is also from said episode.
Hmm. I did laugh when uh somebody referred to Perrin as Mrs. Sarek.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess they don't like have like a family name that we've ever heard.
Right.
So Mrs. Sarek might
Isn't
be.
it didn't wasn't there something in the original series where Spock said like he has it but nobody could pronounce it or
Oh
understand
yeah,
it?
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
I could be making that up, but I thought there was
I
something like that.
I seem to think that I have heard the same thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So Captain Picard mentions that he attended Sarek's son's wedding in the Star Trek novel Vulcan's Heart by Josepha Sherman and Susan Schwartz. Lieutenant Picard attended the wedding of Spock and Savick in 2344,
Hmm.
22 years prior.
Hmm.
Let's
When
see.
Sarek was a spry 180.
Yeah, just 180.
Yep.
Well, Sarek is 202 years in this episode, which means in the original series episode Journey to Babel, he was 102, um, which makes this episode take place exactly 100 years later.
Hmm.
Stan Vulcans. What the- Okay. Perrin is Sarek's third wife. An alternate title considered for this show is Sarek's Finest Hour, which is a terrible name.
Yeah. It's way
Um,
better to just say Sarek.
yeah, that's a damn near perfect name. So,
We can talk more about episode titles in the next episode.
We'll get there. We're almost there. We are almost there. Um, when Jordy and Wesley are arguing, Wesley says, "At least I'm not spending the night with a good book like some people," as a dig on Jordy's lack of a love life. It was also written in as an inside joke since LeVar Burton was famously the host of Reading Rainbow, which promoted reading and literacy to school-age children.
That's funny.
That is funny. All right, last one. Jane Wyatt, who played Spock's mother and Sarek's first wife, Amanda Grayson, in the original series and films, was still alive during production, but was not asked to reprise her role, likely because her character would have been well over 160 years old by the time of these events. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I hadn't made that connection or thought about it. I hadn't thought of how far
Yeah,
removed it was from the original series, and that yeah, I guess it is about 100 years later. Um, so yeah, I had not made that connection because I was like, oh, well, what happened to Amanda? But
right. Yeah.
then
I think I had like a
that makes
passing
sense.
thought of,
It was
of course
just a
she's dead.
passing thought and move on. But
Right.
yeah, I didn't think, oh yeah, she must have died. I was just like, oh, I wonder what happened there.
Yep,
Moving on.
exactly. Speaking of moving on. Um, that was it. That's all I got for this one.
All right. All right, well, we can move on to the last episode, in which Riker and Troy's shore leave on Beta Z is interrupted when they are unexpectedly joined by Deanna's mother, Loaxana, in Menage a Troi. Now, I should have known I can't always judge an episode by its title.
Yep.
Sometimes I can, not always. Based on the name alone, I did not have high hopes.
Okay.
I was anticipating that this episode would be rife with problematical things.
What?
Um, and generally, I thought it was a fine episode. Um, it was entertaining enough. It was largely okay, but had some moments that I think tipped the scales to a seven.
Yep. So I am not that far away from you on this one. I again obviously have seen this episode before. So I knew that it was going to be largely problematical and, an interesting episode to begin with. So I didn't go in with super high expectations. Didn't really have any like, oh, this is way better than I thought it was, moments throughout the episode. Um, I gave it a 6. That being said, the scene at the end with Picard trying to win back Loxana,
Hmm.
at the end of it was I could almost give this a 7 based on that scene alone. Like I think if they had done anything else, it would have remained a 6 and maybe dropped to a 5. But I
Yeah,
think that last scene redeems basically the entire episode.
I
It
agree.
was so goddamn funny.
Yep. I thought that too. Um, I did right. I think I could be talked down to a six, but overall, I thought the episode was kind of enjoyable.
Yeah.
Um, it, Loaxana, the first time she was on, I thought she was a really irritating character, like just so over the top. But now it's kind of like, okay, this is going to be fun. Picard's going to be in an uncomfortable situation again. That it'll be
Yep.
enjoyable to watch. And she's just such a force to be reckoned with when she's on
Mhm.
the screen. Um, but I, uh, I was thinking about it after I was done watching the episode. I was walking to get the kids at the bus stop, and I was just thinking about it and thinking about other shows too. So, shocker, thinking about like Parks and Rec or
Sure.
The Office. And rarely is it full episodes or even specific episodes that will come to mind when thinking about stuff. But amazing moments, a scene or a line that sticks with you in those things where I love those other shows, but there are not too many things off the top of my head I could rattle off like, oh yeah, this episode, this happened,
Yep.
and the A and B story plots. I just don't remember all of those. If I
Right.
were to think about it, or somebody said like, hey, this episode and this one or two small things, I could recite some of the episodes of those shows.
Hmm.
But it's those moments that make a show, not just an episode, but I think a show overall.
Yes.
And you get enough of those moments and you have something special. Um, and there may be a lot of filler in the episodes, but it's those moments that we love. And I think I will remember very little from this episode, but Picard's Shakespearean soliloquy at the end, uh,
Yeah.
expressing his love and willingness to fight for Loxana, his willingness to kill her so the Ferengi can't have her.
Yeah.
That moment was one of those moments that I think it, the best shows have so many of those moments, and I think we're seeing more and more of those in this series. Um, so I think that scene in and of itself was so good that in my mind raised up an otherwise okay episode, made it
Yeah.
even better.
And again, we're leaning into some of the strengths of Patrick Stewart of
Hmm.
like, hey, you know what we're gonna have you do here? We're gonna have you just break into Shakespeare and
Hmm.
just do these couple of sonnets that you have probably done thousands, if not tens of thousands of times in
Hmm.
front of audiences that we probably don't even need to put it into the script. It's just you do this one here and you can just go,
Yep.
right?
Right.
Um, and so he does that so well, and so of course it comes across on screen really, really well. Now I will say, and maybe it's because I've seen this episode so many times, I saw the title of this and I remembered everything about this episode.
Hmm.
Not just this last scene, I remembered every single thing. Like I could have probably rattled off scene for scene what was going to happen throughout the entire
Yeah.
thing. Because even though it's not a great episode, I think it is a memorable episode.
Yeah. And so I think where I was kind of surprised, I was expecting something just like really problematical is
Yeah.
what I was expecting with that
And
title.
it has its
And
moments, but it's not the most
it
problem.
has its moments, but even then those moments are somewhat explained away in the episode. Still like not awesome, but some
Yep.
of those moments are explained away by how the Ferengi are. But
Yes.
if if I had had to guess, if I was given the three titles that we were looking at today and said one of these episodes is going to have a strong Ferengi presence, I
Yep.
don't think I would have picked this one. So
No.
seeing them
Most
and them
choice.
being so prevalent in this, it just threw me for a loop because I was like not expecting that at all. Just based on the title, I don't know what I was expecting exactly, but it wasn't that.
Now,
Um,
do you understand? Like, I know Abby has strong feelings about the Ferengi, but do you kind of understand now that you've seen more episodes with them why they're kind of a fun set of characters to bring into these shows?
so I had thoughts on them in this episode. I like that they are becoming less cartoonish than they were in that first episode or two that they
They're
were
very over
involved.
the top still, but
They're
not
still over the
as bad.
top, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's over the top, but it works.
Yep.
Whereas it's not the jumping around like the flying monkeys from The Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz. That's what they were doing in the
Yes,
first appearance or two.
for sure. They're over
Not
the top.
doing that. They're over the top, but believable
Yeah.
almost.
I think they're
So,
over the top in the same way that Loxana is over the top.
right.
Works. Because
It
again,
works.
kind of to your point, like she's a not a great character in the early episodes, but I actually like her character long term.
Right.
Like it's a nice change of pace.
Right. And I can absolutely see that. And it was having that feeling in this episode where it was just like, oh, she's here. Fun.
Mhm.
Not, oh, what the hell? Um, so I felt similarly about the Ferengi in this episode because it was just like, okay, they're this week's foe. They're not as formidable as, say, the Romulans or the Borg, but they're still there. They're being like the Ferengi are kind of slowly being developed.
Yes.
And yeah, just how they weren't so cartoonish and over the top absurd. Like just over the top in their actions, yes, like we said, in just their presentation, but still different than the way it was in the first episode or two with them. So yeah, I wasn't irritated by them at all. I thought it just it worked.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some of the dialogue was funny. Him walking up to her and just going, Loxana Troy, I desire you. It's just like, what a pickup line. Like, has that ever worked? It's like you hear those really bad pickup lines. Like, has that
Yeah,
ever worked out for you? But here we are.
only
Um,
has to once.
yeah, only has to once. Why continue the search for perfection once you have found it? It's what we should say to our spouses at least once a day, right?
Hmm.
Just to get the. Then she calls him Demon Tog at one point, which I thought was very funny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just
So
I don't know. I thought we were gonna have a lot to talk about on this one because it, is kind of that controversial episode, but I don't think I
I
don't.
didn't think it was like, I mean, it was, eh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's that it's just hard to take the Ferengi super seriously.
Yeah.
And while they are foes, they're more formidable now than just the psychotic
Hmm.
jumping around that they did in the initial episodes that we saw them. I didn't I don't really feel like they're foes the way, say, the Romulans are. They're more they're like the in Ocean's 12. They're kind of like the Night Fox or the whatever guy that they're competing with
Hmm.
to steal things. That's kind of how they're foes. Really they're not posing some existential threat to the Enterprise or the crew, but they're
Yeah.
just some just pain in the ass that they sometimes have to deal with.
Irritation. They're like a swarm of mosquitoes on a summer night almost.
Right. Right. So I don't know, they never seem that threatening, even when they try to. But yeah, I just there wasn't much in that regard, I thought, to really talk about because there was a lot less in that regard than I kind of anticipated there would be. A few things I did think about though was I know at some point Will Wheaton leaves the show. I don't know when that is, but it felt like they were setting the stage for
Building
Wesley to
towards it.
leave. Um,
With kind of a psych at
even
the end,
though
right? He's
there
supposed
was
to,
the psych out and then he gets the field promotion
yeah,
and is still there for at least another year. It had that feeling of like, okay, they're setting the stage that he will not be
yeah,
here
he's got
as
to
part of
go.
this forever.
He's got to
Uh,
go spend 4 years at the academy. That's just
yep.
how it works.
So it was interesting to see that and start seeing those kind of pieces being laid out.
Yeah, but how proud were you when you see him walk off the
Oh
turbo in
yeah.
the red uniform? Like, how cool
And
is that?
his look too, that look
Yeah.
of just absolute pride, which you got to
Yeah.
think how much of that look was real.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure he
Like
felt that as
not
an actor.
not Wesley, but Will Wheaton.
Yeah.
How much
Well,
of
then
that
you
was
look at
him?
everyone else on the bridge,
Yeah,
they're all looking at him, as though they were that proud as well. And then
yeah.
that had to be real on some level too,
Hmm.
right? Because they were all so tight as a
Yeah,
cast.
right.
So,
And when they're tight as a cast, even when he's tight with them, he was still like 17 years old. So how tight are you going to be with somebody who's 50 and the rest of the crew who are decades older?
and he talks about in his memoir, which I haven't actually read, but I've heard like him talk about excerpts
Yeah.
of. I mean, he was kind of a petulant little ass on the set. But he's also a teenager and kind of trying
Yep.
to figure things out. But he very much considers that cast to be
His
his family
family. Yep.
because his parents were piles of shit
Yep.
that were, taking advantage of him and stuff like that. And so, like, they raised him
Yep.
in much the same way of season two when Crusher's gone, the
Hmm.
crew kind of steps in to take care of him so he can stay on the Enterprise. It
Yeah.
was
That
like that in
was
real
that
life
was
too.
art imitating
Yeah.
life.
So I have to feel like all of that, you know, both as a great character moment was also very real.
Yeah.
All of
It
them.
it just had that it had that feeling of this is more than just the character.
Yeah.
And
More
that definitely came through. Um,
I do love the we need to get her back to Beta Z, so we're gonna go at warp 9. Like
yep.
the whisper set
They
course
went
Beta
they
Z.
went warp 8 to get there. And he
Yeah.
was I made note of that too. Set a course for Beta Z, warp 9.
Like it's so
Get us
rare
the
for them to
hell
go
out
that
of
far.
here.
Which I'm sure is for, there's probably reasons because it's probably hard on the engines or the warp core
Hmm.
or whatever. But Picard's like, get her the fuck off this ship. I have like
Yep.
she needs to go.
Yeah. Now, what I wish we could see, and I did just a very, very brief YouTube search and did not find it. I didn't
Yeah.
look very hard, and I may try to look later. I would love to see the outtakes from his Shakespeare speech because it looked like Troy and Riker were fighting laughter throughout. Anytime they were there, it looked like they, one, were absolutely enjoying themselves, but two, looked like they were at any moment just breaking out laughing because he was doing that scene again so over the top uh with it, but just brilliant.
I'm probably doing the exact same search you did, but I'm doing it right now. Um, Man, there's a gag reel from season three.
And be careful how you Google that.
I put it into YouTube and it didn't spell it in such a way that I would get myself into trouble. Um, and everything is Star Trek related, with the exception of a random Seinfeld video.
Hmm.
But okay, I'm not gonna argue that. I think Seinfeld is one of the best TV shows ever made. Um, I don't see anything specifically about that, but that doesn't mean it isn't buried in
Yeah.
like the season three bloopers or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how do you feel about the Umox?
The Umox.
When they rub the
I'm
ears?
oh that was weird.
Well, yeah, it's got to be weird. I mean, it can't be
Yep.
anything normal.
Right.
Like you have to flirt that line of just being completely inappropriate,
Right.
but create a thing that's, still funny, right?
Yeah.
I just get a kick out of that. That's all. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else, I don't think.
Hmm. Yeah. So that we had seen him in a prior episode. Not as Damon Togg though. He was Damon Bach, looks like.
Yep, from
Um,
the Stargazer episode, the name I
mm,
can't.
yeah. So
In one of the other Ferengi is
the
famous.
battle
The
that was in
battle.
season one. Oh, so he was in the I think that may have been the first episode we saw with them.
Okay.
But I don't recall for sure. Um, but yeah, it was yeah, just another I thought it was an enjoyable enough episode. Like I said, the scene at the end did bump it up for me. Otherwise, it was not a bad episode, I don't think, but just
Right.
would have been just okay. But again, it's those moments that I think make the show.
Hmm.
And that was definitely one of those moments.
They just redeem it to a certain extent, right?
Right.
So, all right. I was trying to. Okay. Ready for some trivia?
Uh-huh.
So, and you probably caught this, but this episode is the origin of the snapshot of Picard with the outstretched hand, which circulates the web as an internet meme.
Hmm.
Um, it's the why the fuck meme, one of my favorites. Um, it's obviously the sequence where Picard is reciting sonas to Loxana, specifically when he recites the line, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" Terrible impersonation, but here we are. Um, the scenes on Beta Z were filmed at the Huntington Library Botanical Gardens in Pasadena, California, which also happens to be where the episode Justice was filmed 2.5 years earlier,
Oh yeah.
where Wesley goes and fucks it
Yep.
all up
Falls over a fence
and then gets the
and
death vote.
gets the death penalty.
Oh, that was such a bad episode. The musical instrument scene used to play the Angolian ceremonial rhythms is actually a traditional Indonesian bamboo angklung, which I probably botched the pronunciation of, but Angklung. So that's a real instrument,
Hmm.
uh, which he clearly wasn't playing because his movement up and down didn't match how the notes went up and down, but
Yeah.
do. Um, this is the first Star Trek appearance of Ethan Phillips, who played Ferengi Dr. Farrick in this episode.
Hmm.
Phillips would go on to play the Talaxian morale officer on Star Trek Voyager. So
Okay.
he's Neelix. You'll get to know him very well.
Oh,
He's also famously from 80s sitcom Benson, which I watched reruns of growing up and loved. So
I have not seen that.
I remember it being a good show. Has it been 25 years since I've seen an episode of it? Probably, maybe longer. But
Hmm.
there are several folks that are on that show that end up in Star Trek later,
Hmm.
interestingly enough. So the ship that is supposed to carry Wesley to Starfleet Academy is called the Bradbury, after pioneering science fiction author Ray
Ray
Bradbury.
Bradbury. Hmm.
So I caught that for sure. Um, This is the first time that the Cochrane, the unit of subspace distortion, is mentioned. The term was coined by Rick Sternbach and Michael Okuda as a reference to Zephram Cochrane.
Okay.
The Ferengi sexual practice of Umox makes its first appearance in this episode. Um, the Ferengi torture chair was a dental chair,
I was gonna say it looked like a dentist chair
which for some people that is a torture
with
chair.
those armrests that are like
Uh-huh.
below the seat.
I get it. Like there are a lot of people that struggle with that.
Yep.
So it's a good, yeah.
I didn't write it down, but I did have that thought. Like that looks like a dentist chair.
Yeah. Um, I'm not an anime person, so I don't know that I understand this, but we'll put it out there. So the beginning of Damon Togg's security code was stated as Kiyi Yuri Dathii before being interrupted by Dr. Farrick. This is one of Next Gen's many references to the Japanese anime Dirty Pair and its numerous spin-offs. The main characters of Dirty Pair are named Kei and Yuri.
Hmm.
Well, there it is. Um, let's see. Despite previous instances where Troi indicates he is able to empathically sense Ferengi, those episodes being The Last Outpost, The Battle, and The Price, this episode establishes that Betazoids cannot read Ferengi.
Hmm.
A large piece of equipment in Damon Togg's room was previously seen as the warp core of the USS Hathaway in peak performance.
Hmm.
Um, so yes, he does play Bach and Tog. So good catch there. Let's see here. Deanna Troy debuts her gray and lavender casual attire in the final scene of this episode. So get ready for more of that.
Hmm.
Uh, Riker says at one point, referring to a Beta Z flower, Muktuk lived for hundreds of years. Muktuk is an Inuit food made from whale blubber. Um, does it go without saying that the title is from the expression ménage à trois, a domestic arrangement in which three people share a sexual relationship? Was that lost on anyone here?
Nope.
I don't think it was. Let's see here. Yeah, we already did that one. Oh, well, it's not necessarily a goof. Captain Picard takes the unusual step of granting a full field commission to Wesley Crusher, an underage teenager with no formal instruction. It is well established that there are non-commissioned officers in Starfleet, that is, individuals who enlist for service without going through 4 years of instruction at Starfleet Academy, the trade-off being that they are technically outranked by all commissioned officers, regardless of their level of experience. Wesley could have simply been made a petty officer until he left for the Academy. What's
Hmm.
less fun?
Yeah, well, I mean, he
I
was
mean, he was an
acting
acting
ensign,
ensign, so why
so
not?
right,
I get that in a like real military situation, that's probably not how that would have worked.
right,
Field commissions are usually granted in times of war, which is not a thing here, but whatever.
yeah.
Um, uh, this is a pretty cool piece of trivia. So after his character's promotion on the show, Gene Roddenberry gave Will Wheaton the second lieutenant bars he earned in the Army Air Corps, second lieutenant being equivalent to an ensign in the U.S. Navy.
Hmm.
Present at the ceremony was General Colin Powell, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who later became Secretary of State.
Hmm.
Kind of an interesting little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
Uh, the Shakespearean sonnets that Picard recites are 141 and 18, in case you want to look them up later.
Hmm.
Um, Wesley Crusher is given that field commission at the end of this episode and made a full ensign. It is the first episode where he's seen wearing a Starfleet uniform in the regular timeline. An alternate version of Wesley wore the uniform in yesterday's Enterprise.
Hmm.
The uniform is similar to the two-piece uniforms the senior staff normally wear, rather than the spandex version that was still worn by most of the crew members at this point in the series.
Hmm.
Well, there's the trivia.
All right.
That is what I got.
All right. So next week, or yeah, next week, next time, we'll do the last two episodes of season three, kind of do
Yep.
a season three wrap up.
Yep.
I know we've got Transfigurations and then the Best of Both Worlds Part One. I know I think from this point forward, do they pretty much have all of the season finales and subsequent season premieres are parts one and two, generally ending on probably some kind of cliffhanger or
Yep.
big thing. So I want to experience
Yes.
that
I was
and
going to
have that
recommend
break
exactly that.
instead of rolling right into season four. But that's perfect because then we can also kind of recap season three, give the overall rating for that. So
All right.
um,
I'm looking
yeah,
forward to it.
yeah. So, with that, I've been yawning this whole time. I am super tired and I'm gonna go to bed.
All right. Well, have a good night.
So, yeah, you
Talk to you
too.
later.
All
We'll
right,
see you.
bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. Due to some scheduling issues, I don't have much of an outro this week, so we'll keep it short. If you're watching along with us, next week we will be watching the final two episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3, Transfigurations, and The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. As always, if you enjoy what we're doing, please do us a favor and share with a friend. Also, leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at Baldly Go Podcast, to Baldly Go Podcast on Facebook, and to baldlygopodcast.com. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. Nate and I have another podcast, The In-Lap, in which we discuss each race weekend of the current Formula One season. You can get episodes of The In-Lap wherever you get your podcasts. For Nate, this is Aaron reminding you to never give up, never surrender. When when Sarek was a spry 180.